Thank you for being with us today. And could you please say your name and who you are in Baltimore and what you do here?
I'm Jim Shetler, and I'm an architect with Trace Architects, a small firm that I started with two colleagues in 2007. Prior to that, I worked 11 years with the Patterson Park Community Development Corporation, renovating hundreds of row houses and some commercial buildings north and east of Patterson Park. It was a neighborhood teetering, but had strong boundaries to the south and to the west, and we were able to kind of support that with our development efforts. And today it's a thriving area.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that, and I've really been studying the growth around Patterson Park, so thank you so much for what you've done for that area. I've definitely seen it change over the last 25 years, I would say.
Thanks.
So could you share with us your opinion about the proposed HarborPlace redevelopment by MCB Real Estate?
When it was announced that MCB took over the HarborPlace in receivership, I was excited. Local developer, hopefully, that isn't always perfect, but that it would be headed in the right direction. And notice, I didn't attend any of the community focus groups, but I was pleased that they were doing that. Once I saw the design, it was pretty shocking. And it really wasn't kind of managing or developing the existing HarborPlace pavilions or demolishing them and coming up with something more interesting. It was a wholesale, almost like a private development of a public area. And what I think is, what they have wrong is using words like there's a private area and the public area. It's not the case. This is the public area. By law, it's a public area. It is the downtown Baltimore public park. And to say that there'll be development, private development, at the benefit of the developer in certain areas and kind of leftover public areas, which some aren't as desirable as a private area, you're kind of selecting winners and losers in the development game in the city, especially with a lot of office buildings being potentially converted to residential. You're just adding more units, 900, in an area that doesn't really need to be developed in that regard. You could support this potentially wonderful downtown urban park on the water with plenty of residential development not in the public realm. And that's my biggest problem with it. And the scale of the buildings, again, close to the water's edge, kind of block what you would see behind it from downtown. And there are places within downtown that could be populated with residential high-rise buildings. They don't need to build them on the water's edge. McKeldin Park, which we want to keep that name, especially because of Mayor McKeldin, who helped really start HarborPlace. But that is a potential site for residential development. Steve Ziegler had a really nice design for that. MCB owns the PNC Bank building, which I see, and they also own the empty lot across the street, the old News American site. Two other sites for potential residential development. There's an underutilized parking garage next to the Hyatt on Light Street that could be developed for residential design. What we don't see is a comprehensive urban plan of the area. It seems like we see, what can we, or how much building can we get into this site that we now control, even though the site is owned by the city of Baltimore and its citizens. And the important thing is how this site connects to the Stadia, to Mount Vernon, to Key Highway and Federal Hill. There's a great opportunity to kind of start over and really come up with a comprehensive urban plan where all these nodes are connected, because this may not be the tourist area that it was 40 years ago. It may be more of a public park for folks living downtown. And then, but you still want to have the activities that support, out of town folks walking around. Like today, it's beautiful. It should be filled with more activities and more people. I mean, it's just gorgeous right now. So it's a combination of, I think, a tourist attraction with events. Rebecca Hoffberger outlaid or conveyed a number of wonderful ideas, and it's also the park for the neighborhood, in that new kind of downtown residential neighborhood that hopefully will be filled with thousands more people.
So you believe that basically accentuating the park aspects of it to really bring the amenity to the public space makes more sense than putting more buildings in it.
Well, it's kind of like the Harbor East and Harbor Point. I mean, taking office space away from downtown. And what you're doing is you're giving El Primo residential site. I mean, who the hell wouldn't want to build on a park? So you're giving it to that developer at the expense of folks trying to do office conversions and develop spaces behind it. I don't think there's a need for it. And there's also a need, I think, for international design competition to kind of address these issues of connecting these nodes within the city to this great urban downtown park.
Is it too late for that?
No.
How would you see that being able to happen now that the city doesn't own the pavilions?
Well, the city still owns the land. I mean, ideally, the city should have taken over receivership.
But because they didn't, is there a way to turn the clock
folks
backwards?
go out and vote against this proposal in November, and then maybe the developer will say, well, I can't do this now.
So there's a referendum coming up.
Oh, yeah. So.
Well, thank you very much for being here and for sharing your expert opinion. We really appreciate it.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you.